on Monday there was the mini-conf on integration, continuous integration and all these things, and so OpenStack, one person of OpenStack presented on what they are doing for their large-scale project, and I mean, there are lots of hundreds of contributors and yet hundreds of patches proposed. But I just wanted to give an insight on what we are doing in a very small project, so kind of on the other end of the spectrum, pretty much with very similar technology. And my name is Kristina, and I work for Catalyst IT, and we are the core developers or core maintainers of Mahara, which is an open source e-portfolio system. And up to 2011, we pretty much just did the general thing of pushing our commits to the Git branch and then afterwards fixing bugs. And at that time, one of our team members, François Marie, who's now with Mozilla, unfortunately for us, fortunately for them, he introduced us to Gerrit, which is a code review system. How many of you have actually already heard about it? Okay, fantastic. And we started using the system because it helps us just get a better workflow into our commits. And when I talk about we, I primarily talk about the developers, because I'm one of the non-developers on the team, but I'm actually using Gerrit also as a non-developer pretty much on a daily basis, because it's not just that we use it for code review, but also, thank you very much, for a number of other things, and also for the verifications. And just to give you a little bit of information of what we are doing.
We don't have the 25, so we could watch.
Just while Kristina is preparing, we might have a bit of a scheduling fail on this talk, so we'd love you to continue and keep it entertained.
Okay, just a sec. And what I really just want to show is that Gerrit or code review is not just for large-scale projects, but that it's pretty much for any project that should be interested in it and kind of should be using it, because it is very beneficial, at least in my opinion, also when you're working just on a small project with even just 2 or 3 developers, but also have community members contributing. One of the main things that I find working with the code review system is that we just catch bugs before they actually go into our master branch. And we now also introduced it working with our client. So client customizations go into a different Gerrit instance, simply because we can't always make that public. But it does help us kind of have the same workflow. And so what you can see here on the screen is just our Gerrit instance for Mahara, reviews.mahara.org. If anybody can see it properly on the screen, you're welcome just to look at it on your laptop or tablet. And this is the dashboard, and even I don't really need to sign in to see any of the patches that have been proposed, but you can see, can just look at anything that is in there. So what of course first needs to have been done is that a developer makes a change. They work on their developer environment on their computer. I make changes just in language strings, and then just commit that to Git, kind of normally work in my Git branch. And instead of pushing it to a regular project branch, I push it to the Gerrit branch. So Gerrit is kind of magic for me, because I only need to know one Git command, and that is make push. The OpenStack team uses Git review, and then everything's just being pushed to Gerrit. And so if you just take a look at one of these Gerrit commits there, you can see all vital information about the patch that a developer proposes. So on the left-hand side, you see who's created the patch, which project it belongs to. So Gerrit can also manage many different projects, so you don't necessarily need to set up many instances if you work on different projects, but you can have many of them just on one. And you can also set a topic. And that's kind of a neat thing, to group all your patches more closely. Because what you can see here, a lot of times we are just using master, so that is this column here. But you also see there branches called master and then parentheses accessibility. And so if I just want to look at all the patches that are concerned with accessibility, which is a development focus for us now for our April release, I can just go in there and only see that subset of patches. So you can also manage workflows for different teams easily, or if you have a very large patch, you can just put it together into one topic, but still have individual patches that somebody can just more easily code review. And then on the right-hand side, you have the commit message. So that's standard Git procedure, whatever you want to put in there. And you can see that the bug number is actually linked. And that links back to our Launchpad bug tracker. And so Gerrit has a number of hooks available that allow you just to hook into other systems, or you can also, of course, create your own hooks. And so that is when we put the bug number into the commit message into the first line, we can very easily then just click on the link, go to the bug tracker, and that's where we usually want to have our test cases, or where you find more information and everything that has been going on before the patch has been proposed. And then further down, I'm just skipping over one part for the moment, you can also have dependencies. So if you create a series of patches, then sometimes you need to have certain other code in effect before this one would actually work. So that can have a dependency, depends on either something that has already been merged or something that is still waiting to be merged. Or you can also say, well, this patch is needed by another patch. So again, this helps really also fiddling out bigger patches into smaller ones, making it easier for code review. However, when I want to look at a patch, I'm only looking at the front end of it. So I always need the entire functionality. So it might be really nice for a developer to split everything up into small bits and pieces so that they can code review that more easily instead of looking at something with about 1,000 lines. But for me as verifier, looking at it from the front end, I do need to look at everything together. And so I still only really need to get one patch, or I can go into one patch and get all the dependencies there, and they are just being installed in my developer environment. And then the next thing is that you have these patch sets, and that means that patch set 1 is always the first iteration, and if the code reviewers or the verifiers are not happy with it, we make comments. I'll get to that in a little bit. And then they upload a second patch set. And so how that happens is that once the comments have been made, the developer goes back to their developer environment on their local computer. They make the change in the exact same branch that they've been using in order to push the first patch set. Just do status and git commit again and upload it to exactly the same patch. And Gerrit recognizes it from the commit message and the commit hash or so, and puts it into the correct review. So it does actually not create a new Gerrit review, a new number, but it always puts it on the same one, making it very easy to also go back in history and see how the patch has been progressed, and how things have changed, and you can compare things more easily as well when you have to do multiple reviews on something. And so if I want to look at one of these patch sets, all I have to do is copy the git fetch command here, go back to my local computer, to my developer environment, put that in, and the patch is being applied, and any dependencies as well. And then I can do all the testing.
So the review.edit stack actually has a clipboard button next to that git fetch thing. So you click the button and it's in clipboard. I don't know if that's upstream.
No, we have that as well, but since I'm not logged in, I probably don't have it here. I mean, I always see the little button there under Ubuntu as well. I'm just not sure why it's not showing up here. Also, if you have the proper permissions, Up here for the commit message, there's also a little edit button, which you can click and just change the commit message, because sometimes you just kind of lots of spelling mistakes or things like that in there. So instead of kind of creating a new entire new patch set when everything else is correct, you can just change the commit message in Gerrit, and once it's being merged, it takes that one. So normally, you would, when you use Gerrit, you would use the git fetch command. However, you also see that there's pull, cherry pick, and patch. So you can also do work with any of these commands, and cherry picking is sometimes necessary if you want to test two different patches. So one you do git fetch, and for the other one you do git cherry pick. So all the regular git commands apply here as well. It's just made really, really easy, I find, even for non-developers, just to get the patches and put them onto their local machines. And then within a patch set, you also immediately see which files have been touched in the system. So this is that entire list here. And under the size, you see how many changes per file have been made. And then usually I use the side-by-side diff, and that is really handy. In this case, there wasn't really any change, except that something new has been added. So Gerrit tells you that in green. If you made a change to an existing file and kind of deleted something, and then, oh, this is only functionality, that's why we don't see anything in red. But if we just take, let's see, different review. Oh no, then nothing has changed there either, because there's a -0. But if anything had changed, you would see what has been taken out on the left side in red, and then the new things in green on the right-hand side. And also, if you have multiple patch sets and have done things several times, let's just random one.
Are you also running tests for these?
Not many. We run a couple of initial Selenium tests during the upload, which checks that we have a sign-off line in there, which our project still needs for whatever reason, and then also whether certain formatting is correct, but we are not really running an entire unit test suite over it. So OpenStack, for example, does a lot more automation than we do, because we've got much more contributors, or many more contributors. And so what happens there is that once a patch set has been, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm reciting this incorrectly, once the patch set has been uploaded, after it's been pushed to Gerrit, tests run during that time, and then the automated process puts either a plus or minus for verification on.
And so, also gives you logs for the tests.
Yes.
Even if they're successful, you can still read the logs. But if there's -1, you get a whole bunch of, yeah, you can go through the logs, or there's a system called Elastic Recheck, which that'll parse the logs and tell you, I think you've hit this bug. You should probably recheck against this bug.
Yeah, so the comment here was that the tests don't just run in Gerrit, but a log is also being published to the review system. And I'll just show you where that ends up then, which is really nice for debugging things later on, because then you don't have to go into a server and find the log file first and then get it out there, but everything's already pretty much quickly presented to you. What is also nice in Gerrit, especially when you have a patch that needs to go through a number of iterations, is that you can compare different patch sets amongst each other. So in this case, I only have 2 patch sets, that's why it's not easy to see. But normally on the left-hand side, you have the base patch, so the original thing, and on the right-hand side, you have the current patch set that you're reviewing. However, if you've gone through 5 or 6 iterations, you only want to look at what has changed from the previous one to the next. So you can also change the patch set number there and really only see, has the developer actually implemented what I told him to do last time from patch 4 to patch 5, or do I still need to look at things again or look at the bigger context. So it is also quite nice and flexible in that regard, that you can do many different operations there and check for things. When you are logged in to the system, what you can also do here on this page is, when you're directly on the file, you just double click on a line and you write your comment in. So you have inline commenting, which makes it of course easier later on for the developer to go back, because you don't just read the comment in a big just comment field and need to say, okay, you need to go back to htdocs, lang mahalala.php and fix line 36, and might mess up the number, whereas in this case, you just click on the line, you write your comment in there, and the developer immediately knows where things are and where things need to be fixed. The nice thing is also, when the developer logs in, or kind of looks at it, or anybody who has a login then, and they go to this page, they can open the comment, and when somebody has fixed it, they can just click the done button. So they don't even need to write a comment later on and say, okay, I fixed these 5, 6 things, and remember what they fixed. But as soon as they fix something, click the done button, and the reviewer can then go back and see whether all these things have been done, and they can just more quickly read through these things, and you just avoid a lot of extra typing, which might then also cause a number of problems. So also when you look at these files individually, and especially when you have a whole bunch of them, Gerrit, when you're logged in, provides you with a column here to the right-hand side where there are check marks, so that you can easily see, oh, I've already looked at these files, and you can go back to lunch, close the browser, do whatever, and then come back and still see your check marks, so that you can continue and again don't have to write things down and remember them where you have left off. And then at the bottom of the Gerrit page, you have comments, and these are free text comments. I would have to log in to leave one, and it just gives you a text box where you can type anything in. And as far as I understand, that is also where the error messages or log messages that are generated in OpenStack through the process there, through the testing process are put, so that you can very easily then see those. And we, being a smaller project, have a manual process there that I just copy error messages in and then send them off to the review system. And anybody who is subscribed to this review, that's these people here, they get an email update if you have your settings that way. And that way, again, you don't need to log into Gerrit or need to go to the system to see whether somebody has uploaded a new patch set, but everything just comes into your emails. Now here on the left-hand side, you see that there are these two columns, verified and code review. We use it in such a way that verified means front-end verification, so pretty much either a tester or somebody who has looked at the actual web page, and code review is the actual code review, digging through the files. And our process is that we need at least one verified and one code review with a +2. And Gerrit is again very flexible in that regard, that you can define your workflow. So you can put anybody who's signed up to Gerrit into different groups. So you can say, okay, regular testers can only do verified, so I give a +1 under V. Any developer can do code review, but only +1, and only approved developers or core developers or whatever you call them on your project can give a +2 review. And a +2 review oftentimes means they have the power to say, yes, it's ready to be merged into master, or into a single branch if you're fixing something on a current base. And you can also, even with that +2, still distinguish whether this group of people has push rights or merge rights, or whether they just can give a +2. So you could set up a third category of people, the QA manager, who then only can merge things into master. So you can be really flexible in how many groups you want to set up, who shall be in which groups, and who shall then also have certain rights in Gerrit. And even when you use the system for multiple different projects, you can set up a different workflow for every project. So that you can really cater to what you want to do. And that's pretty much it. as last thing, we do have a hook also for Launchpad when something has been merged. Just need to find one. When something has been merged, there's a hook for Launchpad which puts an automated message onto the Launchpad bug saying that the fix has been merged, gives the URL to the review author and all that information. So again, we don't need to go back to Launchpad to put that information in. However, we still need to change the status of the bug up here in Launchpad manually. I'm not sure if
OpenStack will, there's a few bugs with it, but if you put the review up, the bot notices and sets the Launchpad bugs in progress.
Oh, I definitely talked to you. So the comment was there is a way to actually also change the bug information or the status information up there in Launchpad, which of course again makes it easier because right now we still need to remember, okay, even though we have the actual review information on Launchpad, we still need to change the important, at least the status on the bug to say that it's been fixed committed. And that's pretty much how we are using Gerrit. And thank you also for the comments from the OpenStack team.
I just played on TV.
We have about 20 minutes, so if anyone has any questions or
Or has a topic for another lightning talk.
Can we all please thank Kristina